I would like to welcome and thank all of you for joining me here today. I'm honored to serve as First Lady of the United States.
Melania Trump's life and background have been the subject of much interest and scrutiny, especially regarding her origins and her eventual marriage to Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States. Much speculation surrounded their union. Who was this mysterious figure, and how did she arrive at the role of First Lady of the United States? As we delve deeper into her story, many untold truths are revealed. Now, at the age of 54, Melania Trump has finally proven what many have long suspected. Early life and childhood. Melania Trump, the former First Lady of the United States, was born Melania Knavs on April 26, 1970, in Yugoslavia, which is now recognized as Slovenia. Her father, Victor Knavs, initially worked as a chauffeur and subsequently became a car parts salesman for a state-owned vehicle manufacturer. Through his employment, he established connections with the League of Communists of Yugoslavia, the National Communist Party. Her mother, Amalia, was employed as a pattern maker at the children's clothing manufacturer Jutranjka in Sevnica. The family resided in a state-run housing complex located at Vojka Hiroja, Maroka. Melania has an older sister, Inez, and an older half-brother from her father's previous relationship, Denis Tsigelniak, whom she reportedly has never met. Despite a confirmed paternity test, her father denied paternity of Denis. Although Victor Knavs was a member of Yugoslavia's Communist Party, which promoted state atheism, he had his daughters secretly baptized as Catholics, a practice that was not uncommon at the time. The family enjoyed a relatively comfortable lifestyle compared to many others in communist societies, frequently vacationing in various parts of Europe. Their apartment was notably decorated with brightly colored walls, distinguishing it from many others in the region. During her childhood, Melania and her peers, children of factory workers, participated in fashion shows that showcased children's clothing. The textile industry was the primary economic activity in Sevnica, and students were often excused from school to take part in these events. From an early age, Melania demonstrated a keen interest in fashion, customizing and sewing her own garments, a skill she honed by observing her mother at work. She excelled academically and was appointed as the school treasurer. As a teenager, Melania moved with her family to a two-story house in Sevnica. Her youth in Slovenia was marked by a fascination with the United States. She regarded the presidency of Ronald Reagan as a pivotal moment for her country, and the launch of CNN International in 1985 provided her family with access to American media. At the age of 15, Melania relocated to Ljubljana to attend the Secondary School for Design and Photography, where she studied until her graduation at 19. Despite the school's exclusivity, she was admitted and commuted daily by train from her hometown to the capital. Following her first year, Melania and her sister Inez moved to Ljubljana together. After graduating, she enrolled in the Faculty of Architecture and Civil and Geodetic Engineering to further her studies in design. However, when her husband's campaign commenced, she claimed to possess a degree in architecture from the Slovenian University, a credential she never utilized due to her decision to pursue a modeling career. Nevertheless, reporters have been unable to confirm her status as a college graduate or whether she attended more than 1 year of higher education. How did Melania and Donald Trump meet? How did Melania's modeling career unfold? And how devoted is she to her son Barron? Melania's modeling journey. Melania Trump's path to fame began early. She started modeling at just 5 years old. When she was 16, Slovenian photographer Stane Jurko noticed her at a school fashion show. Though she initially wanted to be a fashion designer, Melania won a modeling contest with Italian studio Cinetea, which included a movie role. However, she turned down the offer after facing an unwanted advance from a producer. As she continued her modeling career, Melania changed her name to Melania Knaus and traveled across Europe in search of opportunities. In 1992, she was a runner-up in the Look of the Year contest by Jana magazine, which offered top contestants an international modeling contract. She briefly worked with RVR Reclam in Milan, but left soon after. Melania spent the next few years modeling throughout Europe. By age 23, her career was thriving, and she made Paris her home. There, she shared an apartment with model Victoria Silvstedt and worked for various fashion houses. In 1995, she met Paolo Zampoli, co-owner of Metropolitan Models and a friend of Donald Trump. Zampoli encouraged her to move to the United States for better opportunities. In 1996, at 26, Melania moved to Manhattan, a bit older than most models starting out. Zampoli helped her settle in by arranging an apartment with photographer Matthew Atanian. Her rent was deducted from her modeling earnings. Once in the US, Melania rarely visited Slovenia and focused on maintaining a healthy lifestyle. She avoided the partying that was common among models and led a more private life. Melania was featured in a sexually explicit photo shoot for a 1997 issue of Max, a French men's magazine, with another female model. The photos were shot by photographer Alexandre Allais de Basseville. The work was unpaid, instead promising her exposure in a prominent magazine. The photos were largely forgotten until they were published by the New York Post in 2016. During her first weeks in the United States, her travel visa did not allow her to work in the country. Despite this, she accepted 10 modeling jobs that earned her approximately $20,000. She then received an H-1B visa that allowed her to work. She received her first major gig when she posed for a Camel cigarette ad shot by Ellen von Unwerth, which was displayed as a Times Square billboard and ran in Rolling Stone. The opportunity arose from a law that required cigarette ads to feature individuals above the age of 25, which excluded most aspiring models. When her roommate Atanian left New York, Melania moved to an apartment off of Park Avenue. Becoming a citizen. Melania Trump calls becoming a citizen of the United States the greatest privilege on planet Earth. She became a citizen the same year she had her son with Donald Trump, Barron Trump, in 2006. She got her citizenship around the time her husband, Donald Trump, was considering a presidential run. In 2001, Donald and Melania briefly parted ways, and a year later she received a green card that allowed her to stay and work in the United States. Questions have been raised about how she qualified for the visa in the extraordinary ability category. Becoming a citizen in 2006 gave her the right to sponsor her parents, Victor and Amalia Knavs, who are now in the United States. How Melania met Donald Trump. In September 1998, Melania Trump was introduced to Donald Trump by a mutual friend at a party. At the time, Trump was with someone else, but Melania wasn't interested in giving him her phone number right away. Instead, she told him to give her his number, which he did. Multiple personal numbers, not just his office line. Melania's reasoning was simple. She wanted to avoid being just another number in his phone book. Though it's a bit fuzzy, they're often said to have met at the Kit Kat Club. A week later, Melania called Donald, and they went out on a date. She played it cool, not showing much interest to make him even more intrigued. Interestingly, Trump's personality reminded Melania of her father, and they had similar ages and looks. When they started dating, Melania had access to Trump's book, Trump, The Art of the Comeback, where he laid out his views on relationships. This gave her insight into what he was looking for. On September 8th, Melania held a press conference where she talked about her achievements and hinted at being a top model and even having a role in a movie with Mickey Rourke. She did this to boost her public profile, although some of her claims were hard to verify and seemed out of character for her usually low-key persona. The Trumps later said they first met at New York Fashion Week shortly after this event, though rumors about their relationship might have been circulating before that. Their first romance only lasted a few weeks. Melania even broke up with Trump after seeing his ex-girlfriend Kara Young leaving Trump Tower, but they quickly got back together. Dating Trump opened many doors for Melania. His fame and connections gave her new opportunities, and he was known for treating women better than many other men in the spotlight. In October, she got to meet the Kennedys at a gala, and she had always admired Jacqueline Kennedy, who had recently passed away. Being with Trump also meant mingling with other high-profile celebrities at various events. Melania continued her modeling career after meeting Donald Trump, though she took fewer jobs as time went on and dedicated more time to him. In 1999, the couple gained attention after an interview with shock jock Howard Stern on his show, in which he asked them lewd sexual questions. Trump often brought her to meetings to show her off, praising her beauty. He did not let her participate in the business, citing the conflict he had with his first wife after giving her an executive role. Trump announced his candidacy for the Reform Party presidential nomination on October 7, 1999. Melania adamantly supported the move. When asked by the New York Times what her role would be if Trump were to become president, she replied, "I would be very traditional, like Betty Ford or Jackie Kennedy." Melania saw extensive media attention as tabloids considered the idea of a model as First Lady. She was one of the first models recruited to Trump's modeling agency, Trump Model Management, after its creation in February 1999. In the following months, she appeared in several magazines and advertisements organized by individuals close to Trump. While Trump was organizing his campaign, Melania appeared in the February Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. The image featured her in a bikini alongside a large inflatable whale, and the shoot was run by Antoine Verglas, an associate of Zampoli. Shortly after the shoot, Verglas called her back for another project where he had her pose nude in a Bond girl aesthetic. Trump had lobbied for her inclusion in a GQ spread, and her relationship with Trump allowed the shoot access to Trump's Boeing 727. Images from the shoot were featured in the January edition of GQ magazine. At the time, Trump's involvement was not made known. She then appeared in another sexualized photo shoot where she was posed in a mock-up of the Oval Office. In January 2000, rumors swirled that Melania and Trump had split up, with different stories about who ended things. They quickly fixed their joint photos and articles to reflect the change. Despite this, they stayed in touch and got back together a few months later. Melania got her green card in 2001, allowing her to live permanently in the U.S. She and Trump moved into Trump Tower in 2002. In April 2004, Melania made her debut on Trump's show, The Apprentice. Later that month, Trump proposed to Melania on her birthday, right before they went to the Met Gala. He felt ready to marry because Melania hadn't pressured him, and he believed she had played a part in his recent success. Compared to Trump's previous wives, Melania was a better fit. She wasn't as ambitious as his first wife or as publicly dramatic as his second. She supported Trump quietly and agreed to his prenuptial agreement. Before their wedding, she went to Paris with Anna Wintour and André Léon Talley to pick out a wedding dress by John Galliano. In the days leading up to their wedding, Melania graced the cover of Vogue in her dress. They tied the knot on January 22, 2005, at Bethesda by the Sea Church in Palm Beach, Florida. The wedding reception was held at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, planned with Preston Bailey. The event was star-studded, with celebrities from various fields. Melania's only bridesmaid was her sister Inez, who had moved to New York to be close. Inez handled the wedding details, but declined Trump's offer to broadcast the ceremony on NBC. The couple had three main homes: Trump Tower in New York, Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and Mar-a-Lago in Florida. To have her own space, Melania built a private spa on the top floor of Trump Tower. Though they had separate lives and didn't spend much time together, this suited Trump, who preferred not to work at a relationship after a day of work. Melania accepted this arrangement as she cared for Trump and didn't see herself as a gold digger. When attending events with Trump, Melania often stayed only briefly, preferring to return to her private residence. She also accepted that Trump never learned her native language, stating she didn't mind because she wasn't a nagging wife. Upon her marriage to Donald Trump, Melania became the stepmother to his 4 children, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Ivanka Trump from his first marriage to Ivana Zelnichkova, as well as Tiffany Trump from his second marriage to Marla Maples. Melania developed a particularly close relationship with Tiffany, who was 6 years old when Melania began her relationship with Tiffany's father, and made a concerted effort to ensure that Tiffany felt included among her step-siblings. The media extensively covered Melania's pregnancy, which was marked by her second appearance on the cover of Vogue, featuring her in a bikini and an open coat. During this time, Melania spent months with her sister, who had relocated to New York, while her parents visited frequently throughout the pregnancy. She also oversaw the construction of a nursery in Trump Tower and held a baby shower at the FAO Schwartz toy store, where she requested that the toys and gifts received be donated to a children's hospital. On March 20th, 2006, Donald and Melania welcomed their son, Baron William Trump. Melania selected her son's middle name, while Donald chose his first name. Notably, Donald had previously used the name Baron as a pseudonym when he posed as his own public relations agent. Following Baron's birth, Melania became actively involved in his upbringing, which led to a reduction in her participation at public events with her husband. Donald had communicated his intention to be less involved in the child's life if they had a child, a sentiment that Melania later expressed her approval of, stating that she preferred he not engage in activities such as changing diapers or putting Baron to bed. She largely refrained from employing nannies, with few exceptions during Baron's early years, insisting on personally overseeing his care. This shift in focus resulted in a decrease in Melania's social engagements, allowing Donald to resume courting supermodels, which made Melania uncomfortable, although she was unaware of the women who later claimed to have had extramarital affairs with him. After establishing her role as a Trump, Melania largely withdrew from the public eye, accepting occasional charity work and participating in an Aflac commercial. She became a citizen of the United States on July 28, 2006, subsequently sponsoring her parents through the chain migration process, which her husband later criticized. In addition to her American citizenship, both she and her son retained multiple citizenships in Slovenia. Predominantly residing at Trump properties, Melania rarely associated with others outside of her parents and her son. During moments spent with her husband, they enjoyed watching films together, including their mutual favorites, Gone with the Wind and Sunset Boulevard, her jewelry line and business ventures. In 2010, Melania Trump started her business line called Melania Timepieces and Jewelry. She sold the pieces on QVC. The collection included costume jewelry and fashion timepieces that ranged between $30 and $200. She was intentional about not using the Trump name in her branding, correcting reporters who called it Melania Trump. She drew the designs herself, which were based on 3 places where she had lived: New York, Palm Beach, and Paris. Over the following years, she released additional Melania collections, and they sold out each time. Melania then introduced a line of caviar-infused skincare products under the brand Melania Marks Skincare in 2011. The brand never launched, and it brought about a legal case when the company selling the products, New Sunshine, underwent management changes and voided the contract. The company alleged that one executive had given a sweetheart deal to the Trumps because he was a family friend. The case was decided in Trump's favor, and the amount to be paid to her was settled out of court. She had initially sued the company for $50 million in lost revenue. Rededicating herself to parenting, Melania eventually ended the production of her jewelry brand. Her significant influence in Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Melania Trump played a crucial role in encouraging her husband, Donald Trump, to pursue a presidential campaign during the 2016 election. She asserted that he needed to either commit to the campaign or cease discussing the possibility. Once the campaign commenced, Melania made it clear to her husband that she would not be coerced into participating in campaign events and would only make appearances at her discretion. Consequently, her involvement in the campaign was relatively modest, a departure from the more active roles typically assumed by spouses of presidential candidates since the early 20th century. In explaining her limited participation, she cited her responsibility to remain at home with their son, Barron. Despite her limited public presence, Melania's daily routine was significantly impacted by the campaign, necessitating adjustments for security considerations during her travels and restricting her ability to share her activities on social media in real time. Once an active user of platforms such as Instagram and Twitter, her engagement diminished as the campaign unfolded. While many, including Donald's close associates, expressed skepticism about his chances of winning the presidency, Melania maintained her belief in his potential success. Unlike many of Donald's advisors, she encouraged him to trust his instincts and express his genuine thoughts, although she did disapprove of his use of profanity. Melania closely monitored the campaign from home, analyzing polling data and observing her husband's interactions with opponents. She maintained regular communication with him throughout the campaign, including post-rally discussions in which she provided frank assessments of his performance. Her background as a model proved advantageous during the campaign, as she was accustomed to dealing with photographers and did not require a fashion consultant. Her experience in modeling also taught her to be intentional in her movements, including her posture and gait. Melania expressed frustration at being labeled as shy during the campaign, attributing this characterization to individuals who had only encountered her briefly and sought their 15 minutes of fame. Her initial speaking engagements in November 2015 and February 2016 were initiated by Donald requesting her to address the audience. On both occasions, her remarks were brief. Her first pre-scheduled speech during the campaign occurred in April 2016. The campaign aimed to encourage Melania to take a more active role, recognizing her unique ability to humanize Donald and resonate with the American dream from an immigrant's perspective. Hope Hicks served as the primary liaison between the campaign and Melania, facilitating any appearances she wished to make. Melania placed her trust in Hicks's judgment, allowing her to assess the significance of various appearances. Her infrequent public engagements took her to swing states where her husband required additional support, and her speeches primarily highlighted his personal attributes rather than focusing on policy matters. Melania Trump played a significant role in the selection process for the vice presidential candidate, engaging with the leading contenders. Her endorsement of Mike Pence was influential in his eventual selection, as she believed that Pence was less ambitious than other candidates and would not pose a threat to Donald Trump. However, her relationship with Karen Pence, Mike Pence's wife, was not as harmonious, as they shared little common ground. During the 2016 Republican Party presidential primaries, a super PAC supporting Donald Trump's opponent, Ted Cruz, produced an attack advertisement that included a nude photograph of Melania Trump from GQ, accompanied by the caption, "Meet Melania Trump, your next First Lady, or you could support Ted Cruz on Tuesday." This advertisement heightened the rivalry between the two candidates. In July 2016, the New York Post published additional scandalous nude images of Melania under the headline, "The Ogle Office." While these images were humiliating and led Melania to remain out of the public eye for 2 months, they did not significantly affect the campaign, as she was perceived as a victim in the situation. On July 18, 2016, Melania Trump delivered a speech at the Republican National Convention, which subsequently sparked controversy due to the discovery that a paragraph had been plagiarized from Michelle Obama's speech at the 2008 Democratic National Convention. When questioned about the matter, Melania asserted that she had authored the speech with minimal assistance. Notably, no one from the Trump campaign had reviewed the speech beforehand, a common practice in political campaigns where speeches are typically vetted by multiple individuals. Donald Trump expressed his anger towards his staff, feeling he had let Melania down, while Melania personally felt she had failed the campaign. This speech was the only significant address she made during the campaign. 2 days later, Trump staff writer Meredith McIver accepted responsibility for the incident, explaining that there had been a misunderstanding when Melania referenced passages from Obama's speech as examples. The speech also contained a rare reflection on her background, including details about her family in Slovenia and her early modeling career. Following the speech, Melania largely withdrew from public engagement as the election approached. On October 7, 2016, a month prior to the election, the Access Hollywood tape was leaked, which had been recorded in 2015, shortly after Donald and Melania's marriage. The tape featured Donald making controversial remarks regarding his treatment of women. In the immediate aftermath of the tape's release, the campaign's primary concern centered on Melania's response. An anonymous source who was present with Donald at the time reported that he exhibited visible distress. It took him 2 hours to approach Melania, who reportedly expressed her concern by stating, "Now you could lose. You could have blown this for us," before leaving the room following his apology. In 2024, Michael Cohen, the former personal counsel of her husband, provided testimony during the trial of the people of the state of New York versus Donald J. Trump. He indicated that Donald Trump had privately acknowledged Melania's contribution to the campaign's strategic response by framing the controversial conversation on the tape as locker room talk. Melania maintained a distance from her husband, expressing frustration over his comments, which she believed could jeopardize his candidacy. She took a day to formulate her response and declined the campaign's request to make a scripted appearance alongside Donald for damage control, opting instead to address the situation in her own manner. Additionally, she refused to sit next to him during his recorded apology, a common expectation for spouses in such circumstances. Melania issued a statement asserting that the tape did not reflect the man I know, and labeled those accusing him of sexual misconduct as liars. Following the incident, Melania garnered increased media attention, which she found to be frustrating due to the sympathy it elicited. A few days later, she attended a presidential debate adorned with a bow, prompting widespread speculation regarding her intentions, particularly in light of her husband's remarks on the Access Hollywood tape, which included the phrase, "grab them by the genitals." After casting her vote, Melania spent the majority of Election Day with her parents at Trump Tower, while the remainder of the family engaged in last-minute campaigning. The inauguration of Donald Trump occurred on January 20, 2017. Following her husband's election as president, Melania announced her decision not to relocate to Washington, D.C., opting instead to remain in Manhattan to allow their son Barron to complete the school year there. This arrangement also facilitated a gradual introduction of Barron to the White House, mitigating feelings of overwhelm. During this period, Melania negotiated revised terms for her prenuptial agreement to reflect the significant changes in their circumstances since its initial signing, and to ensure a suitable inheritance for Barron. Melania Trump is noteworthy as the second foreign-born woman to serve as First Lady of the United States, following Louisa Adams, who was born in England. Furthermore, she was the first naturalized citizen to assume this role. Trump has stated that Melania is proficient in English, Italian, French, and German, in addition to her native Slovenian. However, she has been predominantly heard speaking English and Slovenian fluently. When engaging with speakers of other languages, she utilizes a translator. Additionally, Melania was the first Catholic to reside in the White House since President John F. Kennedy and his wife Jacqueline, and she is recognized as the second Catholic First Lady in U.S. history.